Hey, this is Taylor and Neal from Royal Bliss, and you're listening to Rob on Front Row Live.
I have been recently introduced to your band, and I can't believe that I've missed 20 years of this band
Awesome.
because you guys are insane. And I really want to dive in and talk about the new single "Fire Within," just because it's such a great anthemic kind of song, but two, it's like the right time for a song like this, for an empowering song like the one that you guys just dropped. So let's jump in and talk about the writing process of the song and what really kickstarted the initial writing process for it.
Well, actually, I was out in Nashville writing with some friends, and my friend Justin Reimer, who we used to tour with, he was in a band called 12 Stones. If you remember those guys, they actually just came out with another record. And we went down to check out the studio and just hang out and reconnect. And he had some songs that he was working on. And it was just, there was no lyrics or vocals on anything. He was just showing me some guitar riffs. And he showed me this riff that he had. And it was the riff and a lot of the music already for Fire Within. And I was just like, oh man, I love this. So I said, give me the microphone and press record. And so I just grabbed the mic and started singing. And the majority of the lyrics, we got that fire, the Fire Within came out. And it was one of those moments of just like, oh yeah, this is amazing. And everybody in the room was just feeling it. And then, we continued, it evolved because we actually wrote it years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago. And it's evolved into a couple different versions of the song until this final structure here, which is a lot more rock and vibe. We did it with our friend Rob Dacre. And, the lyrics, we all felt exactly what you're saying are extremely relevant right now. And, a lot of the lyrics for me, it's kind of about, it's for one, it's a song that I need to sing to myself every once in a while. Cause I get discouraged and this industry is extremely hard. And, doing what we do, you got a lot of people, be it your parents or friends or other relatives being like, when are you going to stop trying to be a rock band? And when are you going to go to college and get a real job or whatever? But there's nothing else that kind of lights that fire, that puts gasoline on my fire, like playing music. And now that I'm a father as well, I want that same message, because I kind of imagine myself sitting down with my sons and saying these words to them as advice, because I know what they're going to go through, and there's so many people in the world, be it, young people or just people that struggle to be themselves, in so many walks of life. And I'm going to encourage my kids and other people out there to be themselves and not conform or listen to those people telling you that you can't do something, or to not be yourself because you're too different or whatever. I just hope that this song is one of those things that helps put fuel in their fire and just be like, you know what, I'm going to follow my own dreams no matter what it is. And right now, I think, this last year, it put a lot of people into a dark place. And so I hope this kind of pulls them out of it or helps them. Music's that universal language. And all I can hope for personally from my lyrics and the music, the instrumentation, is that anthemic kind of vibe of, let's put some positivity back in the world.
Right. And as far as like getting into the studio, you mentioned Rob as the producer for this. What was that chemistry like, and how different was the song that you initially wrote to the song that we hear today?
To be honest, it's not drastically different as far as the song structure goes. Some of the elements, and Rob really brought out some of those elements of some heavy guitars in the chorus, and bringing up the background vocals. I mean, it was kind of a work of committee of being like, yeah, the kind of big haze and the whoa-ohs, the kind of unity vocals that are in that. But our chemistry of Rob has always been phenomenal. We've done some amazing songs with him, and he always kind of gets what we're going for. But I think that was the cherry on top, where it never sounded just right. We had mixed it a couple different times. We even had Tom Lord Alge do a mix on it. He was an incredible mixing engineer, and it sounded good, but it just didn't quite have the edge that we wanted it to. It didn't quite have the punch. And then when Rob put his magic on it, it came to life, and everybody was like, oh, all right, this is a great track. This is going to make the record finally.
Taylor, what was your experience with Rob, and how did he help you become a better guitarist for this track?
Rob's an amazing musician and friend. And I think one of the things that Rob adds, and we've worked with Rob for off and on for years, since like the debut, like Life in Between, Capitol Records album. So, we trust Rob with his opinions and ideas and suggestions. And, I think you got to have that with a producer. If you don't have that trust, then, I think you guys aren't on the same page. And sometimes it doesn't end up where maybe the song or the sound that you're going for should. So I think what we did is, Royal Bliss, kind of, we just do our thing and we put our own little elements. So like Neal said, Neal kind of had this song kind of previously written, where he kind of brings to the table, and then, the band guys just kind of work their own version of that song into what, like, how would I play this song, or what, things like that. How would Jake, our drummer, play those parts? He might add his own little flair, that makes it sound like Jake's playing the drums versus, the drum machine per se that they send it to us with, or whatever. And then we kind of let Rob do his thing. And then when it's kind of all said and done, we let Rob go back with the tracks when he mixes it, and he kind of sprinkles that little magic dust on there. And I think that the final mix that he gave us, we're like, there we go. That's what we're looking for.
Seems like this whole process was just natural, though. Would you guys say there was some kind of challenges that you guys faced, whether like the writing process or instrumentally or vocally?
I mean, the song took 3 years to come out, so it's been a 3-year struggle for that one. I mean, truthfully, this song was talked about to be put on the last record, in a different kind of version. And when we put it into the kind of song list of possibly making this record, Rob, our producer guy, he loved the track. It was the first song that he really was like, wow, this song's really good. And we kind of went and redid a few things, recut some stuff. And I think Neal went and did some vocals, and now it just stands out. So.
Yeah, it was like one of those things that, we knew it was a good song. You knew that the core of the song was solid. It was just putting all the right elements together to really make it, to do it justice. And that was one of the things, me personally, I was just like, man, this is really cool, but it's just missing something. And, we've had quite a few of those songs throughout our history they've been kind of on the back burner for years and years and years. And then finally, and we never give up on them, because we know that at the core, it's a really solid song. And again, going back to kind of what you're saying about it being the right time for a song like this, that was part of it too, where it never was the right time for this song for us to go on another album. And it had a chance to be on the last 2 records that we did. But this time, and after everything we've been through, and like Taylor said, this was Rob Dicker, our producer's favorite song on our new album. And he was worked on this right off the bat, and he was so excited. And, to have a producer that's that talented and musically and with an ear get excited about a song, we knew that something magical was going to happen. So, yeah. And finally it was time for it to be born into the world.
Now that it is the right song for the right album, would you say that this song is kind of leading or paving the way for this album? Do you think that that was the foundation for this upcoming record, or was this record already a work in progress and this song pretty much just solidified it?
No, I would say it's almost the other way around, to a point where we knew we had this song that we didn't want to give up on, but everything that we were writing was influenced by 2020, because the majority of the songs we all wrote, I think the only 2 we didn't were Fire Within and Medication. And all the other songs were written in the time frame of 2020, before the record, when we were all, and they were very influenced by what was happening. And a lot of the other songs have that kind of message of, persevering and surviving through all this chaos and being yourself, and, being let out of the cage when we're finally let out of the cage. And Fire Within just fit in so perfectly with all the different meanings on this record, where it just fit the vibe. So it wasn't really, we wrote we didn't even know if Fire Within was going to end up on this album. But then after we did all these songs, it's like it fits perfect with the theme of the record, which is that, you know, lighting the fire within, and everything's going to be okay. We're going to survive this, you know, like get out. We're going to be able to get out and see the world and be yourself. And, you know, like it's a lot of the songs on this record are that. And I think it's a lot, you know, lyrically for me, it goes back to being a parent and seeing what my kids are going through, and my friends' kids and everybody else being, you know, kind of concerned by what's going on in the world with everything that, you know, with, you know, the BLM movement and LGBTQ and everything else surrounding. And there was so much negative connotation towards it that I think we need to have music and songs that bring everybody together, and that people should be proud. And, you know, we didn't have live music to bring us all together this last year. So I really hope that, you know, we can get back out there and start playing and bring everybody from all walks of life. Because that was the one thing that I think we missed was, you know, it didn't matter. You didn't care what the person next to you believes or is or anything like that. Just we're all there rocking out at the same time to the same music, having a good time with that thing in common. And that thing in common was taken away. And, you know, everybody was surrounded by social media and negativity and all these people's opinions. And a lot of people, especially the youth, were scared, and their parents scared about what was going to happen. And, you know, seeing the shelves on stores be completely obliterated and toilet paper. And I remember that was the moment that it kind of sinked in for me, where I'm like, holy crap, this is real. And this fear comes in. And so the music that came out of me was like trying to sing to my kids. And also another thing was like mortality really came into light, where, you know, there's so many people are dying, and my mom is personally going through cancer. She's 3 years in, stage 4, still fighting. So mortality's been on my brain a lot, because you just never know what's going to happen. So I kind of wanted these songs to be messages to my children, if something were to happen to me, you know, that they could always go back and listen to, be, you know, some inspirational lyrics that, you know, could help guide their way. And hopefully it helps guide some other people out there. You know, like when we hear from fans saying your music pulled me through one of the hardest years of my life, that's the best compliment we can get. And so I hope these songs are that to a lot of people. And I think they will be.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like musicians and artists are the reason why a lot of us were able to survive 2020, just because, you know, the levels of depression just went up the roof. And,
Yep.
you know, the fact that you guys were still being able to create and letting us kind of disappear from that dark world for a moment, like really saved a lot of lives. So I'm really excited that that you guys are able to continue to create. And I'm excited that this record is kind of like was able to be born at the same time.
Yeah, no, us too, man. And you know, I think there should be some amazing music coming out of 2020 if, you know, the bands are allowed to write from the heart and be honest, and as long as they are being honest with themselves and kind of tell the stories that they went through. You know, a lot of people are coming out of some dark places right now, and it's going to be really hard for them. And, you know, hopefully and I think it's going to be rock music that does it. You know, the honesty, the energy of rock music is what people are going to turn to, and it's going to help us get back to normal. Yeah. And I'm excited to hear what a bunch of our friends and other bands are coming up with. I think it's going to be an amazing year for music.
Now, as far as like how I mentioned earlier, I'm 20 years late to this band, but you guys have had like such an incredible career. And, you know, obviously you're still gaining traction and gaining new fans. So for you guys personally, Taylor, for example, how are you a guitarist for 20 years without running out of material? And for you, Neal, how are you a vocalist for 20 years without, you know, losing that voice and that sound that you have?
Taylor, you want to take this turn?
Yeah, I guess for me, I mean, music never really ends. You can play the same chord over and over and over and get a totally different inspiration from it, and a totally different sound. You know, plug it into a different amp, play it with a different guitar. I guess at the end of the day, for me, like just doing what we've been doing, I just feel like we've been evolving and getting better as musicians and songwriters. and it's kind of exciting to see kind of like where we started to where we've come. And I think Neal said, like surviving situations, and even last year specifically, we wrote 90% of the record in the studio. Like we weren't necessarily prepared to go in and do a new record. We just kind of had the opportunity. We were like, hey, we can't tour, might as well go do a new record. And we signed a new record deal. So we're like, perfect timing. We can't do anything but this. So we just kind of locked ourselves in the studio for a couple months, and out came a new record that was supposed to come out last year, but it's hopefully going to come out this year. So, some of the songs are starting to come out, but ultimately I think for me as a guitar player, any guitar player, it's just constant evolving, learning new things, plugging into a new amp, getting a new sound, trying a new guitar, all those things kind of help you evolve and get better, or, come up with a new musical idea that might inspire someone else. So, yeah.
I think it comes down to, especially in this band, that every member of this band truly loves playing music. Like we have a passion for it. And that explains our longevity, is that we enjoy writing and we enjoy being on that stage so much that, there's not a lot of other feelings that you get like that in the world. So you figure out, how to stay creative. Like for me as a vocalist, how to keep my voice. I finally started taking vocal lessons, about 3 years ago. And I had never taken vocal lessons, and I've learned a lot in that process. I was always really scared to do it because I didn't want to mess with my voice or screw up how I'm doing it. But I also, like, you just figure out, like, taking voice lessons, that's going to give me, I figure I'll be singing for another 40 years. And learning, it's constantly figuring out techniques, being like Taylor's fingers and our drummer's arms and shoulders, figuring out how to be that musical athlete, because that's what you end up being, especially when you're playing 5 nights in a row and doing 5 headline sets of an hour and a half every night. You're sleeping like crap. You got to figure out a different lifestyle in order to get back on that stage, and we're willing to do anything to be able to do this for a living, because it's the best feeling in the damn world. And so I think that's the main key for us, is like we love it so much that we will do absolutely anything to be able to continue to do it.
Yeah, I mean, Neal's lost his voice, or sang a show with like barely can speak, and I played with broken fingers. We played with casts on our arms and hands and legs, and like it's kind of also one of those jobs it's hard to call in sick. You can't just, hey Bob, come play my guitar for tonight. It doesn't. I'm calling in sick this weekend. I want the weekend off. Like it doesn't really work like that. So, we've learned to play through being very injured.
Oh yeah,
crazy. That's crazy. Well, I'm very excited that I've been introduced to you guys, and I mean, what better way to be introduced than by the band personally? So,
Welcome.
So thank you for this introduction, and thank you for this new song, Fire Within, because I feel like a lot of us need something like this, and it's a way to help us be okay. So once this thing is over, like we can be back to as normal as our lives can be as possible. So. Congratulations with the success of Fire Within, guys, and thank you again for taking the time.
Well, thank you so much for having us, man. Glad you found us.
Me too.